Hey YouTube, it's Matt with Olympus Reptiles, and we are here with Eric from TGR. And Eric has brought us an awesome gift, and that is these brand new designed cages. And you're thinking, wait a minute, he's had cages out for a while. Yeah, but not like these, and we'll tell you all about them in a second. But first, I would say that he could watch us work really quick and put them together. But would that be honestly true?
No, it's more like watching me work while you play on your phone.
That's kind of what happened. I'm not gonna lie. He's a pro though. So let's all watch Eric work, put them together, me play on my phone. Guys, I'm tired. That was a lot of work for somebody here. Not me. Hardest part you didn't see was actually getting them in here. This is a cool facility, but not the easiest, I wouldn't think, for that.
Absolutely not. Not coming down a couple flights of stairs and around corners, but you know, we made it work.
We did. So tell us about this design and this setup, like, because this is brand new, right?
For the most part, I've been doing the Gen 3 cages since I guess beginning of the summer, middle of the summer time frame, maybe a little sooner than that. But they lock in like our racks do, so they've got it kind of a puzzle style design on the sides and the back, so that when you stack the cages together, mind the dust here, you know, they lock in place. So these things are solid. If you bump into it, you're working inside, you're not gonna have to worry about your cages sliding around. Right. The tracks for the windows are actually routed into the plastic. So if you don't mind unlocking that over there, Matt. I'll slide this out here and you can see. So the window track is actually routed out of the plastic, so it's not any add-on pieces. And then as well as we have it in the sides, so that when you have this thing completely closed up, it's locked on 3 different sides, plus your lock in the center. So your top is in a channel, your sides are in a channel, and your bottom's in a channel. So that you got you know, maximum security there with everything being locked in. One thing that I have done recently is I've increased the size of the window itself. Some of the older ones was just a 2-inch lip, and depending on how much substrate you have, what I did notice was a lot of substrate between the polycarbonate windows and the window support here. So it makes it a real mess when you go to open this and you got dirt or, you know, cocoa or whatever falling out. So I did increase the height of this to make more room for substrate. We rounded off the window part, just gives it a little bit of a better look. And then on the 6 and 8 foot cages, we've got center supports as well. So what we've got set up here is 4 6-foot cages. Right. But what we did for Matt was we took 2 of the 6-foot cages and made them into a double 3. So instead of putting the window for them to go from one side to the other for a full 6-foot cage, we put a solid board in there so that he had 2 3-foot cages stacked on top of a 6, on top of a 6, on top of 2 3-foots that are all one solid unit.
So yeah, which for me is great because it lets me have a lot of things in this wall, a lot of versatility. You know, I'm excited too because I mean, looking at this compared to the Gen 1s that we have, you know, all the things you talked about are a big deal. Plus, you know, you've still got your emblem cut in the back wall, But you're now, I want to open this again so we can get some reflection possibly. You've been able to custom cut our name into there, which is really, really nice. And then on the other side of it, you've been able to custom cut our emblem with the Own the Gods. Get that out your way. So, or not our emblem, sorry, our phrase. Now, you're doing this for pretty much anybody that wants. I mean, obviously, it's a little bit more work. It's going to be a little bit of an added fee to do so. But you can do almost any emblem and almost any phrase, correct?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, some things is going to be extremely detailed, is not going to come out very well. Right. You know, like your logo, it was so detailed. Doing it in such a small space with a router makes it really tough to get it detailed and really nice. But for the most part, I can do logos in there, and that's just a one-time $25 charge.
Right.
So we do that one time. That's just my time to program it and do the drawing and get everything built into the system. And then from there, I can throw that into a 3-foot cage, a 4-foot cage, 6-foot, 8-foot, whatever you want done. I can put that emblem in there because I've already done the programming on it. So,
see, on my standpoint, being in business, I think it just gives such a finished look to a product for me to have my name in there and my stuff in there. So people come in and they see it. They're not only seeing, you know, your emblem and your name, but they're also seeing ours. So
right.
If you are business minded on these cages, that is so worth the $25. It just, the little added bit of professional it gives you is great. Something else I want to ask about, because I know I'm going to get asked about it. I already know the answer, but I want everybody else to know the answer, is when you look, I mean, and I know there's some variants, you'll see a little bit of a gap. Do I have to worry about watering and leaking through there?
So not on ours. Okay, so with other manufacturers that flat pack cages and ship them to you, then you got to assemble them yourself. And then they send you with a bottle of silicone. And you got to get a caulk gun and silicone in around it. You know, and over time, silicone's going to wear out.
Right.
You got to peel the silicone out, clean everything really good, redo it again. So with our cages, they come fully assembled. So if they're 6 or 8 foot cages, they don't ship FedEx. They have to go on a freight, so they can be costly unless you're picking them up at a show. But when we assemble them, we seal them with a bonding adhesive that's made for plastic that actually melts the plastic together. So because this plastic is never perfectly the exact same size, there's a little bit of variance in the thickness on it. We have to make our channel bigger so that it will, you know, take the larger pieces. We're talking millimeters, but I mean, tiny fraction difference. But the cracks in there are fine. It's been sealed. That's just the gap from the plastic touching there. But since everything is in channels, all of this has been sealed, so it melts that plastic together. So you don't have to worry about trying to seal it 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road. They are bonded together and sealed.
So these are built to last forever. They're built to go the long haul, theoretically. That's forever can be.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
A few other little details is you've added this right here. And it's such a small thing, this little black bar in between. I think that's an option, correct? The beauty bar?
Yeah, so I did that on yours. It's not, I don't have it necessarily listed on the website, but if anybody wants that, I can do this for them. And most of the time I just cut it out of my drop, my scrap, whatever's left over out of the machine. So normally when you stack these two, that black piece here wouldn't be here. So you got that little bit of a gap, that half-inch gap in between. Right. And that's just from where these two stack. So for you, since I put our sticker in the center there, it just tied in with the black, really seamed it out, make it look nice. So if anybody does get multiple cages, and whether it be they got 2 black cages and want to do a white one inside there, or 2 white, one a black, or if you want it to match and just have a bigger faceplate looking, you know, the solid white, I can do white as well. So like I said, I do that out of the drop or scrap that I have laying around. So there's really no charge with that. It's not an add-on.
I like the look. So I think the look is great. I think it just gives it just a different, more of a finished look with that in there.
Yeah, and it separates it. It gives it a good separation.
And then we're also on a pedestal, correct? So that lifts us up off the ground.
Correct.
Just ever so slightly. And you guys may be like, well, why do I need that? Well, you're going to have to make that decision. I don't really want my cage completely on the ground. One, it's easy for me to work with. Even that just few inch gap lift is nice, especially getting down there and keeping a lot of venomous snakes like I like to keep. I'm always trying to think of, where am I working and what am I working with and how am I going to work it, and having that not on the ground. Even the Gen 1s we've got, we end up elevating them ourselves just to get that done. So having that where it looks good, it's not sitting on a couple 2x4s like I did. I really dig that pedestal.
See, another reason we did that is, I mean, some people will take their cages and they'll set them, say, on their counter, or they got a table they want to set it on, or a nice shelf they're sticking it in. With these larger ones, and even on those, if someone's setting them on the ground, your ground temperature typically is a lot cooler than say where this one is. So because we do radiant heat panels in the cages, that's kind of our standard as we do the radiant heat panels. Your heat's being, pushed down from the top, radiating heat from the top. So it's not like belly heat. So they've got now extreme cold from the floor with a little bit of heat coming from the top. So it's just to help keep that bottom from being too cold. It's a 6-inch pedestal, keep it off the ground, keep the, the frigid cold air from the ground off of it.
And then too, you went ahead and set these up for us. Why don't you go ahead and just kind of talk about how you set these cages up? So I figured you build them. You know how to better set them up than I do. So I let you just do it, and I learned from you. So why don't you teach our folks how you put them together, what you're using for a thermostat. Obviously, it's Freedom Breeder. Usually we've used Herbstat, but these Freedom Breeders are great. I've heard great reviews on them, so we didn't hesitate to go with those since that's what you carry. But just kind of tell us how you run the thermostat, how you set it up, a little bit about everything on there.
All right, so I took the probe from the thermostat, and I've got it ran in. Still needs hung up a little better on the wires, but it comes in and there's a clamp loop on each one of the radiant heat panels. So we just hang that from that 4 to 6 inches away from the radiant heat panel. That's going to get a pretty good gradient temperature for there. Once you get substrate in, that heat that's radiating down, you're going to increase your ambient temperature in there. It's not going to be like a hot spot per se with belly heat. But the thing with belly heat is, you put belly heat on a big cage that's got a large opening, you're not going to create the ambient temperature you need. So you might have a hot spot, but the rest of your cage is going to be really cold. So with a radiant heat panel, which is why I use these in cages, now you're creating a little bit of a hot spot right underneath the panel, but you're creating an ambient temperature inside the enclosure, which makes it a lot better for them. Because when it's in a rack system, yeah, they've got the hot spot, but the tub's shrunk down so much that hot spot now radiates heat through the rest of the cage. So it does warm up inside of a tub. But with this radiant heat panel, hang it a couple inches away. And then hook everything up to a thermostat. So these thermostats, there's a 4-channel thermostat here and a 2-channel thermostat back here that we haven't got moved all the way up yet. But I've got each radiant heat panel on its own output. The reason for that is if a radiant heat panel comes unplugged, you're going to know which one is. Because if I ran all these on one output, and the one with the probe was fine, but this one over here came unplugged somehow, you wouldn't know unless you opened the cage and reached in there and realized it was too cold. So this way, you'll get an alarm if that cage is now running colder than it's supposed to. I've got the 4 outputs run to the 2 3-foot cages, or the 2 double 3s. Right now we don't have the bottom ones done, so they're turned off. And then I've got the 2 full 6-footers hooked up to the dual output thermostat.
Okay, and just a quick reminder, standardly, what all size cages do you make? I think it's 6, 4, and 3, is that correct?
3, 4, 6, and 8.
Oh, and 8, you do the 8-foot ones.
Do the 8-foot as well. So the difference is you got 4x2, 3x18. Both of those are 14 inches tall. Everything goes up in 6-inch increments, essentially. So 3 foot by 18 inches, 4 foot by 24 inches, 6 foot by 30 inches, and then once you go to 8 foot, it's going to be 8 foot by 36 inches. And these are 18 inches tall versus the 14 inches tall in the 3s and 4s.
So the 30 inches too, with this being one thing I really like about our setup, I guess would this be hard to do for somebody else if they wanted a solid wall? Is that a problem to do? Or
no, not at all, because we're doing the window option in there. So I've actually taken a few orders like this for this setup. They wanted it removable inside. So instead of being necessarily removable, what we're doing is we're cutting the hole and then we're putting a panel on each side to close it up. So for right now, we can house 2 smaller animals in it
and one big
and then just take those covers off, and when it gets big enough, it can take the whole one, then it'll add another 6-foot cage in.
And the really nice thing, and obviously if you were custom ordering something like this, it'd be a little more because you got 2 heat panels and things like that.
Right, that would be the only additional cost at that point, is going to be the extra heat panel.
But this gives you a little bit more size over the standard 3-foot too.
Correct.
Because of the 30 inches of depth versus the 18 inches.
Right, so you're getting 12 inches extra depth, and you're also getting 4 inches extra height.
So like something, for me, looking at the size of this, there were some things I thought, man, I don't know if I really want to put that in a 3 as it grows. I'm like, oh, it'll be great in this 3 because we're literally almost probably twice the floor space.
Right.
Which is just great. Don't check my math. Don't check my math on that. It's probably wrong. All right, Kurt, anything you want to add?
No.
Eric, anything else you want to add about these
I
cages?
will say on the 6-foot cages, so the 3s and the 4s have one LED light in it.
Okay.
With the 6 and the 8-foot cages, it's got two LED lights.
They're bright.
So
guys.
you can
They're
control
beautiful.
each side individually, and they are on dimmers as well, so you can see how that dims down.
That's awesome.
And can do it for the other side as well. That can dim down and go up.
And two, I know in our past, I'm sure you can do it with these, you could run those on a timer. So if you want a day on, night off, a 12 and 12, it'd be easy to plug in a timer, plug those into a timer, and have them just kick on and off on their own, correct?
Correct. Here's another option though. With the Freedom Breeder thermostats, they have heat setting, cool setting, and light setting. So if someone wanted one cage and they wanted it, they could use a Freedom Breeder dual output thermostat, run your radiant heat panel to output 1, set your heat setting for that.
Right.
Go to output 2, change that to a light setting. You can program how much power you want to give it and the time frame. So it would work like same as your night cycle for the heating where you get your temp drop at night. The light cycle would dim down and shut off, and then it would ramp back up to be full light during the day and then dim back down as it gets dark.
So it wouldn't be an abrupt on-off like a...
Correct. You could, it would be a slow range there, dimming on and off.
More simulate sunrise, sunset.
Correct.
And all those things to give you a little bit of a more natural look. Is there any weight concerns, anything like that you need to do with these cages? I mean, if you got a big 8-foot cage and I've got a big old retic, can I do that? Is that going to be okay to throw in?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one reason why we do the windows and the extra support inside on the larger cages is for the weight. So the entire window here that you see on the front is one solid piece. And it's routed in to the top, bottom, and sides. And then it's screwed in from all angles. The center window, same way, top,
One
bottom,
solid piece.
window, and back, and then it's screwed in. And of course, they're sealed together as well. So it's got plenty of stability to take on whatever weight it needs.
That's awesome. All right, anything else you want to add?
I think that's it.
All right, YouTube, go check them out. And remember, if you're on our Patreon, we're going to do a video about this, and they get a discount on these things. So if you're not there, you should be. All right, guys, thanks for watching. See you next time.